Nina Schuyler's first novel, The Painting, was a finalist for the Northern California Book Awards. It was also selected by the San Francisco Chronicle as one of the best books of 2004, and it has been translated into Chinese, Portuguese, and Serbian. Her stories have been nominated for Best American New Voices, and her short story, The Bob Society, was nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Her work has appeared in ZYZZYVA, Santa Clara Review, Fugue, the Meadowland Review, the Battered Suitcase, and other literary journals. Schuyler's second novel, The Translator, fantastic, was the winner of the 2014 Next Generation Indie Book Award and shortlisted for the 2014 William Sarayon International Prize for Writing. She attended Stanford University for her undergraduate degree, earned a law degree at Hastings College, and received her MFA in fiction right here with an emphasis on poetry at San Francisco State University. She currently teaches creative writing at the University of San Francisco, where she is the fiction advisor for the MFA program's online journal, Switchback. And she also reviews fiction for the Rumpus and the Children's Book Review, and is the fiction editor at Able Muse. Please join me in welcoming Nina Schuyler.
Well, thank you so much for staying and inviting me, and it's so great to be back here. I have a lot of fond memories. I was one of those students they couldn't get rid of. So I was on the 6-year path, and I think it went over 6 years, but you could only be here 6 years. So they said, you know, we'll just fib and make sure it just says 6 years on your transcript. But it was, you know, generous and inspiring, and everyone was overworked and in a good way. But I have such fond memories because it was the beginning, just being inspired and being with other people that were serious about their writing and sharing it and meeting a lot of good friends. I'm telling everyone that I talk to here, make friends because you need writers groups when you graduate. So you got to be friendly and nice to each other because you need each other. You go out in the big world, you think you bump into someone at a cafe, it's like, oh, I've always wanted to write. But these people are writing here, and really serious writers and good writers. So I came out with a couple really great friends, and we're still in connection and sharing work. So I put that out there, that writers groups are really important. The Translator, let's see, so everyone always asks how many revisions. I revise as I go. I can't move on without a good sentence. So hundreds of revisions. Talk about revision, right?
Yeah.
The process of revision, it's all in that. And I always tell my students, I've been teaching since 2005, don't judge it too early. I see that mistake, and don't send it out too early. And it's not ready yet, probably. Take some time away from the work and then come back to it with fresh eyes. You become your own editor. So don't give up. Stay positive and revise, 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 and make friends. Those are my parting words for you. So I'm going to take you to the Translator scene. A little bit of backstory. You need to know, these are no masks. It appears it's an ancient art form in Japan where theaters perform, but all the actors wear wooden masks. And you need to know that for this scene. What else? Hannah, the main protagonist here, is accused of mistranslating a Japanese novel. She's fallen downstairs, and she can only speak Japanese. And with intense loneliness, she goes to Japan and ends up seeking out the inspiration for the novel that she translated, because she wants to prove herself right. He turns out to be an unemployed no actor who likes to drink. His name is Moto. This is a scene, though, that he's made it on stage, so he's back into the world of acting after, long time away. And I'm trying to find my page. Okay. We'll start here. She's sitting in a theater. Has anyone ever seen a no play? A little bit. Even the native Japanese speakers don't understand what they're saying. So you walk in and you're handed a book, a text. If you really want the words, you can find them. But most people either know the story or just experience it as, movement and dance and sound, kind of this medley of art forms coming together. Hannah, remember, she's a translator, and everything comes down to meaning and words for her. So this is a really difficult situation for her. Okay, so here she is in the middle of this play. Let's see how long it's going to go. Don't want to go too long. Hannah tries to concentrate. The music changes, the flute is gone. As she stares at a musician's shiny white shirt, her mind drifts again. Then out of nowhere, the image of a white bowl of blueberries being rinsed under tap water. The tap water comes out orange-brown, rust in the pipes. What memory is this? The flute rejoins the drums like a wisp of a woman weeping. Blueberries in a white bowl, how to translate that? In a white bowl, blueberries, blueberries. In a white bowl, a bowl of blueberries. Her mind rearranges the words until finally she sees herself 7 or 8 years old sitting on the sun porch eating a bowl of blueberries, doing a crossword puzzle. Her father sat next to her smoking his pipe, the air filling with the scent of cloves, his lips kissing the pipe stem. The faucet ran in the kitchen, and from her parents' back bedroom, a radio played something slow. Hannah put a spoonful of sweet berries in her mouth and bit each one separately, telling herself to remember this moment. Sitting in the warm air, next to her father, her mother inside, humming something sweet in German, remember life could contain this extraordinary happiness, and that it would eventually disappear. Later, she looked back at herself and marveled at her clairvoyance. Soon after that bowl of blueberries, she and her parents moved again. She remembers weeping, "I don't want to go," which was dismissed with silence. She was once again taken away from her few friends, whom she had patiently and carefully courted. Compared to what has previously occurred, what happens on stage is a frenzy of activity. 8 men file onto the main stage carrying colorful fans and sit with their legs tucked beneath them. Expressionless, their faces reveal nothing. With a swish of silk, an actor finally steps onto the stage in a black robe patterned with white squares. He wears the old man's mask with a wrinkled gray complexion, a top knot of gray. His white sock feet skate along the floor, his upper trunk slightly ahead of his lower, as if there's an invisible force urging him along. It's Moto's manner of moving. Is it him? The old man on the bridge raises his arm and the chorus begins to chant, "Yo, oh, oh." The voices fall at the end of each of the sounds in a monotonous cadence. And then more sounds, incomprehensible with the drag vowels, the strange enunciation that resembles the chanting of an ancient Greek tragedy. She can't make sense of it, as if she's been sent to a foreign country and doesn't speak the language, and there is no hope of learning it. The old man skates back and forth on the bridge, as if the air has currents that sweep and circle him. The chorus chants its gibberish, and minutes go by, though it feels like hours. Finally, another actor emerges on the bridge in the mask of a young woman. The actor sings something in a low, monotone voice. Except for the mask and costume, she's no different than the other actor. Her song, if it can be called that, is a shredding of words into their fundamental elements of sound and air. Hannah gropes for something, a word. It must be archaic Japanese. She steals a glance at Renzo. He's smiling, nodding, visibly enjoying the performance. After some effort, that back and forth motion, the 2 actors finally make it to the stage. She peeks at her watch. An hour! Something should happen now. But the actors glide and whirl, waving their fans, the monotonous beat of the drums, the moaning vowels. There seems no point. It's akin to watching someone cook, fold laundry, read the newspaper, on, until the day dims and dies out and it's time for bed. There is no crescendo, nor, she suspects, will there be one. Closing her eyes, she wills herself to think of something pleasant. Little interruption. Sometimes these no plays can go on for 10 hours. It's 5 plays, and some can be 2 hours long. So it's like a big adventure for the day. Swimming, of all things. She finds herself in her mind swimming. The waves are choppy, the water ice green, blue. She's floating, drifting, staring at the cloudless blue sky. When she turns on her stomach, there's no sight of land, blue sky and ice green water. How did she float so far? Moto appears beside her. He nonchalantly nods hello. "How did we get out so far?" she says, trying to keep fear from her voice. He shakes his head. Don't know. Which way is land? He shrugs. Which way are you going? She says. This way. Why? She hopes he says land, safety. She'll be safe if she follows him. Current's going this way. She must have dozed because when she opens her eyes again, new actors populate the stage, different costumes and masks. But it might as well be the same play, the same movement, the same dull droning of words. Is Moto on stage? The play grinds on. During intermission, she's supposed to rave to Renzo about the stunning costumes, the captivating dances. Thankfully, Renzo is surrounded by friends who are doing just that. She overhears someone say Moto has yet to appear. She steps outside, hoping the fresh air will ease her irritation and wake her up. Rain floods down, a soft, misty rain. How little space between things, she thinks, growing more agitated and annoyed. Every single building abuts another building, and the sidewalks are so narrow that people must crowd, bump shoulders, jostle, and almost collide. Murmur apologies, and alleyways are crammed with more shops, more signs, more carts, and vending displays, more and more people. She steps back inside and waits in the lobby. Before the lights turn off, she reads the title of the fourth play, The Bridge to Nowhere. It's a new play, not part of the traditional repertoire. Bare bones of a story. A woman's son runs away to the big city to seek his fortune, only to end up living on the street. She turns again to the front of the program. No is the display of Jugend, or quiet beauty, a nebulous, mysterious word, she thinks. You, she knows, means dark, phantom-like, and gen, subtle and profound. When the lights flicker, she sighs and returns to her seat. An old man comes under the bridge. Him again, she thinks, rolling her eyes. She looks around. The audience is Japanese, and they are, for the most part, alert now, possibly even enjoying this. She couldn't feel more alien in this moment. Arrogant of her to profess that she understands the Japanese. One of their oldest art forms, and she doesn't have a clue. Then she thinks she hears the word depraved. She decides the old man is depraved and perhaps deranged because of the odd angle of his mouth with its slackened lower jaw. He too moves in a strange way which by now looks familiar, so familiar that she wonders if she began walking now. Walking right out of here, she'd float along in the same manner. More time passes before the second actor appears. Again, it takes a while to make out a single word, beggar. He's the beggar. Then she hits gold. In quick succession, she hears clouds, mist, obscure. A speck of satisfaction surges, and she tries to draw it out, savor it. Now there's the haunting music to contend with. Again, she's lost in the lexicon. One of the drums sounds like raindrops hitting a steel roof. Is it supposed to signify rain? It probably means absolutely nothing. Her only consolation, after this one, there's only one more play, then she can leave. The air suddenly turns charged. The theater swells with the stillness of stunned absorption. She opens her eyes. The theater is as silent except for the rustle of silk as someone moves on the bridge in the same stylized fashion as the other actors, but not like the others because he's barely moving at all. Yet there's a force to his being, a magnetism that grabs and holds the eye, her eye. She sits at the edge of her seat, her heart pounding. It's Moto. She has no doubt, wearing a sumptuous robe of bright gold, embroidered with orange and red fans. His mask is smooth, with arched eyebrows, and his mouth slightly open, revealing white teeth. Black strands of hair fall in curls on his smooth forehead. She recognizes the mask, that of a beautiful young boy. He looks the embodiment of purity, of innocence, of vulnerability. Look at him, whispers Renzo, a white shine to his voice. Do you see him? Moto glides over to a post along the bridge and gazes at the actors on the main stage, his mouth at a palsied slant. He seems to be emoting longing, but how? He's wearing a mask. Raising his arms over his head, he opens his mouth, or so it seems, and out comes metal scraping against metal. Is he beseeching the beggar, the old man? What does he want? Moto edges toward the main stage, but before he reaches it, he stops. Somehow the expression on his mask changes. He looks out toward the audience. His eyes seem to open wide as if searching, and calls out, "What?" From the strain in the chant, it sounds like he's asking for help. An anxious stillness grips the theater as everyone waits for an answer. It's as if a spell has been cast. She can't take her eyes off Moto. His mask is moving as if it's made of real skin. Pinpricks of perspiration seem to appear on the boy's upper lip, and now tears run down his face. She's glued to this Moto not as Moto, but as a young boy. He raises the fan above his head, slowly opening it, as if each newly unveiled fold contains the hidden meaning of everything. Hannah holds her breath. A brown fan with 6 white birds, meaning what? His voice is ringing out, vibrating the air molecules. It rings and rings, then slowly fades, dies out. There is no answer. The boy's face crumples. Hannah feels something lurch inside. The beggar and the depraved man beckon to Moto to come over, promising to tend to his needs. Or maybe they don't. From the strange shrieks and silences, Hannah feels herself making up the words, a story, trying to hold on to something familiar. Moto glides onto the main stage, and the depraved man moves close, too close, scrapes a long fingernail along his cheek. When the boy cringes and shrieks away, so does Hannah. A chill runs through her, then settles as a hard ball in her stomach. The old man and the beggar circle the boy, leering, running their hands over his pure gold robe. Run away, thinks Hannah, go. The frightened boy stands perfectly still, but at the same moment motion sweeps over him, and now he's whirling around, then plummeting to the ground, whirling, plummeting, caught up in some sort of chaotic wind. She can't say how he's standing still, and at the same time generating a flurry of frenzied movement. The beggar and the old man back away as if the boy has gone crazy and is giving off some horrible scent. The scent of fear and anguish, thinks Hannah. We are sundered, the chorus sings. Oh sorrow, nothing else remains. When Moto finally sings along with the chorus, she falls into his voice, as if it's calling out to her, only her, falls all the way into the agony. What follows is a blur. The final play, a demon with a red mask moving around. Other characters, that's all she remembers. When it's over, Renzo murmurs something about a restaurant across the street. She hears herself tell him she wants to sit a moment longer, to gather herself, she thinks. But what needs gathering? What has been sundered? The rest of the audience clears out and the theater is empty. She hears someone sweeping, the janitor most likely. Slowly, she tries to stand, holding onto the back of the chair for support. Something is in her mouth. She touches it with her tongue, inches it forward to her front teeth. A strand of hair twisted around itself. She plucks it out, black, about 4 centimeters long. It could be hers. So I didn't take business as a writer, but I've learned you have to show up with something to give away. I have little cards. So I didn't bring that many, but if you're in, this is a little picture of the cover and information about the book. So if someone, it's a really beautiful cover. Right, when you stand up here with your book one day, you have no say over the cover. You just hope for the best. So they did a great job, and I can't take any credit. I wanted to have any questions. I feel like I graduated here and I owe back this Spencer. You know, people were so generous with me here. So anything come to mind that, yeah.
Did you travel to Japan?
I did. I speak a little Japanese, and I had a sensei for a while. But I lived in Japan. My sister lived there 7 years, so I had a place to go. And I found that was the best way to learn the culture. I obviously stand out. And people wanted to practice English. So there's a scene in here where a little boy runs up and says, "This is a pen." And that's one of the first sentences they learn in Japanese, or in English. He didn't have a pen, I didn't have a pen, but he ran up and wanted to practice his English. Thank you. Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe are there some books that were really influential for you when you were here that you discovered that you would recommend for us to look at? Or maybe some writers?
I just say read widely, read a lot. You're absorbing far more than you know. And then if you love something, take it apart, especially as a novelist. So then you look at the architecture, it's like, oh, I can do this. I see how it's put together. I get that, you know, what I call reader questions that are driving the forward motion of the novel. I get it. So the more books you fall in love with, the more you should want to understand them and take them apart. Either, you know, on your own, I'm constantly doing that because I teach now, but it's how you can teach yourself and continue to grow as a writer as you go on. And I think the big challenge is to keep growing as a writer and the longevity of a career. How to keep it interesting. So you keep raising the bar. You've never tried this? Try it. You've never done that? Then try that. And that's how you keep excited about writing and staying with, you know, people, other writers that are struggling along too. But I just want to say this, because I met a person who wants to write. He must be in his 60s, maybe late 60s now, and he hasn't, and he's really bitter. So keep writing. You're doing it, and it's just really, really important. If you have any love of that or inclination, you have to do it to stay happy. So it's kind of cliche, but I actually met someone that was like this. It was like, this is astounding. It really does happen if you give up or you say it's not going to happen. You turn away from this passion. Thank you.
No, thank you.